Hello and welcome into another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. We have a really fun show for you today. We are reviewing an Oscar contender and Regina King's directorial debut, One Night in Miami, which is available on Prime Video. We are also going to get you all caught up on what's popping, including big news for you Harry Potter fans out there. And we are going to wrap up the show with our Schoolyard pick of movies we would like to vacation to. Let's do it. Thank you for joining us on another wonderful episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. Actually, episode number 57 of Popcorn for Breakfast. We want to thank you all for being here. Joining me, as always, the incomparable Kirkus McGurkus. Kirk, introduce yourself to the people.
Well, there's no better introduction than that. I am Kirkus McGurkus. That is my given Christian name, and it's good to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. That's one of our co-hosts. I am the other co-host. My name is Camronius Maximus.
That's right.
The third of his name.
The third
of
junior.
House Frankfurter. I don't know. I'm mad-libbing here. So I just had to. I like it in shows. Maybe we'll talk about some of these because we're doing like different worlds. You know, like we're talking about vacationing to other worlds later. Maybe we'll get into I like whenever. You know, in like Lord of the Rings, or they do a little bit of this in Harry Potter, but definitely like Game of Thrones, they do like house whatever. It just sounds epic, you know?
Yes.
Like rather than just being like, yo, my last name is whatever. It's like, I am of House Targaryen, you know? It's like really, it's pretty epic in general.
Yeah, I feel like I probably have that with my Irishness.
100%.
I've always wondered what my Irish house of arms is.
It's probably something really cool.
I bet it is, man. I think I even found it this is morbid on a funeral I went to that they had like this Irish like quilt on the wall in the basement of this church for whatever random reason, and I think it was on there, but I have no idea what it is. I've forgotten it, but I would love to know. If you know my ancestry out there, listeners, please let me know. I would love to know.
It would be good to know. It would be good to know just in general. I don't know. Have you done one of those? Do they tell you that in like the 23andMe?
I've not done 23andMe. However, my granddad, on my dad's side, he is a fanatic of Ancestry.com.
Oh, is
he? Fanatic. He lives and breathes and eats it. So I should just text him. Just say, hey, what's our House of Cards seal from the Ireland? You know?
Do we have a crest? Do we have anything cool I could get like tattooed onto me? You know, just like hit me with all the deets, Grandpa.
That'd be sick. That would help us with our creating our movies and our scripts.
Right.
You and I could go on a wild goose chase to find my ancestors and see if I have any relatives in Ireland and go to Ireland and have an excuse to peruse across Ireland and watch Irish movies. And I digress.
Yes, it would be great. It would be truly great. So anyway, I don't know what got us on that. But so the reason we're doing the different worlds today, this is, you know how they have all these bizarre like national holidays that I'm like, or like National Day. I shouldn't say holidays. They have like these National Day of whatever you can think of. Like there's a million of them. Today, Disney Parks, like the first thing I saw this morning, I hopped onto Twitter and Disney Parks was like, today is National Planning a Vacation Day. I was like, what? Or like Vacation Planning Day. And I was like, all right, that's got to go in the podcast. And the reason for that is we cannot really plan vacations right now. I mean, you can, but like you're braver than me if you are someone who does this. It's scary stuff. Because like who knows what's going to happen. I mean, things are looking good, but we've had a rough year, so let's not count our chickens before they hatch here. Let's be overly cautious and highly cautiously optimistic. So what that means for me is I'm not planning any vacations anytime soon.
No.
But the movies watching a movie is kind of like taking a vacation. And sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, man, I would really love to travel there. That would be really cool. So at least I am. I don't know about you, but this will give us the opportunity to kind of like power rank those places we would like to go. So,
I'm down for that.
So we're definitely doing that.
It's going to be a lot of fun. In my mind, it breaks the Matrix because it's like, wait, have you seen those people who have found like the scenes that things were shot in, like at a movie?
Yes.
Like they take like a screenshot, like a little 5x7, and they find the exact frame and they hold it up against it in real life. I just don't know, like that
yeah, there's
dedication.
an Instagram account that does that. My sister-in-law sent that to me. It's very cool. And I don't know how they've done this. It's like when I play Legend of Zelda, they have this thing where they're like, here's where you need to go, and they show you the picture, and there's this world. And it's like a video game world, and I can't even find that. And there are people out there being like, boom, here's this frame from a movie that I found exactly where it fits in the actual. I just don't understand. That's a skill I could never have.
Yeah, I don't have that one either. I would like to meet the people who figure it out. I want to know their process. If we could have them on here just to chat about it, that'd be even fun. You know, like, what do you do for a living that you get to just randomly travel to all these places? Are you an influencer or are you a trust fund baby?
If you, probably both. Those are usually hand in hand. I mean, you start out as one and then you become the other. Usually, but you can make. I mean, there's money in the influencer game. We know that. It would be nice.
Yeah.
It would be nice. I mean, everybody hates influencers, but at a certain price, I would be down to be hated by everyone, you know?
I mean, we have been trying to be sole influencers for a year and a half now as this podcast. And so if someone would just pay us.
Let us influence you. And
we
then
would
we can
love
get
to
paid
influence
by other people. Yeah.
You.
I think the thing about the influencer thing, people hate influencers, and for good reason. I mean, you see those people like the Instagram models, you know, like, and the Instagram boyfriends who come with that sometime, which is hilarious. Like the people taking the pictures. You see these people like out in the wild, and it's tough to watch. But I think what people don't understand is that like being a YouTuber, which is another group of people that people hate, or like being a influencer is like, people think it's easy, like an easy way to make money. I think it's not. I don't think it's easy. I think, first of all, I think it's hard to get to that status, and I think it's really hard to like do all the crap you have to do to like keep your following and keep making money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about how staged those posts are, like how much work goes into each one of those. I mean, I don't know. I digress, but I don't think it's easy is what I'm trying to say.
No chance. I mean, I struggle to make a 10-word social post every day, Cameron. And these people make 30, sometimes 30-minute videos a day. I'm like, what? Huh?
Well, and if they're cross channels, man, they've got to do the Twitter, they got to do the fleets on Twitter, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, like the whole, it's a lot. So I'm saying, here's what I'm trying to say. You can hate them for being who they are because they are the worst, but you cannot hate them because they have an easy job, because I think it is far from that. I think it is far from easy.
So in their case, hate the player, but don't hate the game.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Exactly. Hate the player, not the game, because the player is the worst.
Yes.
It's a good point. What else are we gonna do today? So we're gonna get you caught up in what's popping. We get a couple of juicy stories here. We're gonna talk about Godzilla versus Kong with the trailer. We're gonna talk about this new Raya and the Last Dragon trailer. We're gonna talk about Harry Potter a little bit. I mean, when was the last time we talked about Harry Potter on this show?
Yes.
Ever? Like as a news story? There was probably like some sort of Fantastic Beasts story.
Maybe.
Does that even count? I don't know. But anyway, we're talking Harry Potter. And then we are going to review this movie, which is being called by many a Best Picture contender for the Oscars. One Night in Miami, which is actually the directorial debut of Regina King, who's a phenomenal actor. So it's very exciting. It's we'll delve into it in much detail, I'm sure. Here's a question for you, Kirk.
Yes, sir.
This is historical fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Is it even possible to spoil this movie? Are there even spoilers? Is there anything in the movie you would consider a spoiler?
No,
Yeah.
not really.
I mean, if you don't know that Malcolm X dies, that's on you. Like that's not on us. If we're like, yeah, and at the end Malcolm X died, which he doesn't die in the movie, but
Correct.
you know what I mean?
Not,
like that's the only thing I can think of. And that's just, you've been failed by your history teacher or something. The internet, I don't know. You've been failed.
Yeah, his or Sam Cooke's death as well. They were both murdered.
Yes. They both died in very close proximity to one another. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking we can let it fly because I just don't see how you could get spoiled on this movie.
Let's
personally.
Do it. Let's spoil away.
I mean, if anybody is upset with that, so be it. But let's just go for it. Let's just live our truth here a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
So we'll get into that. We got what's popping. We got a lot to get to. We got a lot to get to.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning, so we gotta go.
It is not. Maybe if you live in England.
It's actually broadcasting from England, Cameron.
From Ireland. You're trying to track down your family history.
That's right, but I'm speaking British to distract the people around me. Yes.
Smart move. All right, well, let's get into it. Let's jump into what's popping. All right, Kirk. I hate to have to do this week after week, but here we are once again, and let's just rip the Band-Aid off. We got more movie delays. We've got more movie delays, and one of them is a whopper, and one that really is a tough pill to swallow, and that is No Time to Die. Once again, delayed until October 8th of this year. Yes.
There he is.
You need to, we need to take that James Bond Funko Pop and perform some sort of ritual sacrifice to get this movie moved up, because this is getting outrageous.
You know what I did the other night? I started to watch Road to Perdition. I've never watched it before. I don't know why. I love gangster movies of all kinds, and Daniel Craig is the bad guy in that. So that's where I'm getting my Daniel Craig fix right now. Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks, directed by Sam Mendes. This is just terrible. This news,
So help me out. When was the original release date? Was the original release date April of 2020?
Yes.
Or was it November?
No. It was the first movie to drastically change their release date.
You're right. So it must have been. So it will have been a full 18 months from its original release by the time we maybe see this in October.
Correct.
Yeah, that's insane. That's mind-boggling to think about. I really just wish we're kind of getting to the point now where there is more movie content. We're getting more via streaming, we're getting more via VOD thanks to award season and stuff like that. But I'm just dude, let's just get these movies out. I'm tired. I'm at this point, that movie could be the most amazing movie in the history of the world. And I've been thinking about it for so long that I just it's not going to live up to the hype. That's what I feel like. I mean, Wonder Woman is unfair example because that movie just kind of was underwhelming. Mm-hmm. But it's just man, waiting so long for these movies, it's when they finally arrive, they have this giant wave of hype behind them that's been building and building and building. I just feel like there's no way it's going to live up to it.
No chance. I would even be excited if they didn't tell us. What if they just across the board said, we're not telling anyone when these movies are coming out. It's top secret. And then literally the day they come out, just be surprise, everybody, here's the movie. And they tell you to go stream it somewhere. They tell you to hit the movie theaters. I would be elated because guess what? No one's going anywhere.
Right.
So if you say, go to the movie theater tonight, you'll be able to because there's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do.
So
it's a good point
that you're not going to live up to. Just throw it at me. Surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, being it's coming October 8th, who does that help? It's not like anybody's like, oh, buddy, old pal, I'm going to buy my tickets tonight. Like, you can't even do that. So what is the point? Like, just wait until like a month before and be like, all right, guys, things are looking great. We're gonna pull the trigger. I mean, it's just sitting there waiting to go. So It's like Morbius. Okay, so Morbius is another one of these. Let me read the full list of things that have been delayed this week.
Do it.
So we already talked about No Time to Die. The King's Man, which is the third movie in the Kingsman franchise, but it's a prequel. That Disney pushed that one back to August 20th of this year. Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is Jason Reitman's crack at that franchise, which looks pretty interesting, has been pushed to November 11th, Armistice Day. And Morbius has been pushed again. It had already been pushed, I think, like 2 weeks ago to October. And now it's been pushed again to January of next year, 2022. And Uncharted, starring Tom Holland, Sony's big video game movie, is pushed to February 11th of 2022.
Yeah.
So it's like those later dates that I'm like, that's arbitrary. That means nothing to me. And, you know, as often as they've changed, like what's even the point? What's even the point of that? But some of these movies too, I'm like not expecting Morbius to be super great. Maybe that's just me being cynical, but I'm just not. And I feel similarly with like The King's Man. I'm like, dude, just put it on VOD. Like, let's just put it on VOD. If it's great, fantastic. You gave us some entertainment. If it's not, boo-hoo. Like, it wasn't going to make $1 billion in the box office anyway, so.
No, it wasn't. It won't.
It will not. It will not. Very few movies do. Like, I get why you protect Black Widow. I get in a lot of ways why you protect James Bond. Like, those franchises have a ton of equity built into them. People want to get with their friends and their family and go see the movie. But, you know, Morbius, it's just like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Morbius, Schmorbius. No one cares. Sorry, Jared. Lame-o.
Wow. Now you're just being hateful. We are getting a movie with Jared Leto this week. The Little Things with Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. That comes out on Friday. Speaking of movies I don't expect to be very good, I've got a sneaking suspicion about that one.
You don't think it's going to be good?
I just don't trust it. I don't trust it.
Is it because there's too much marketing saying
there's
it's
too much
great?
marketing, and all of the marketing says Academy Award winner Denzel Washington, Academy Award winner Rami Malek, Academy Award winner Jared Leto. And I'm like, yes, but if your movie was actually good, you would just tell us what the movie's about in the trailer instead of telling us who's in the movie.
They're just trying to like Jedi mind trick us. This movie is great. You will love this movie.
They are trying to do that, and I will be darned. I'm not falling for that crap, so I don't trust it. Maybe it'll be good, and I'll be totally wrong. But my instincts, I'm sniffing out. This will not be great. This will not be a great one. We'll see. We'll see.
You hate it so much that it could be a phenomenal piece of cinematic history, and you're like, no.
No, I'm not like that. There have been plenty of movies that I expected to hate that I didn't hate. So
we should have that should be a Schoolyard pick next week.
Yep, write it down. I got notes right here. What was it?
Okay.
Movies that you expected to hate that you didn't hate.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse my typing.
Take your time. We don't want to lose this.
No, this is good. This is creative fusion right here. Okay. All right. Whew, that was good. Good one, Kirk. Good call out. You should get a gold star for that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, next. Here's our big Harry Potter news. All you Wizarding World fans out there. Let's caveat this with the fact that Kirk and I are not at the same level of Wizarding World knowledge as some of you out there. Almost certainly. We're not like Kirk and I could talk for hours about Star Wars. Harry Potter, probably not as much. We've seen the movies. I've read some of the books. Have you read the books, Kirk?
I have not.
See, we're not there. We're not there. So just be kind, okay? Anyway, HBO Max is revving up a Harry Potter series. We don't know what it's about. We don't know where it's set, but we know that it's in the early stages of production. what are your thoughts on this show? And what would you like to see them explore based on what you know?
Oh, goodness. I, for one, would love to see what in the world is going on with Harry's parents, because
Yeah.
at the end, I'm sure there's lots of great details in the books. I just have the attention span of a goldfish, that I don't remember 3 seconds later. I start reading, and then I forget what I read. So that's my reading comprehension for everyone. I think that seeing them in action, when you get to the top of the movies, you're like, oh, they were the perfect parents, they were the perfect family, and they were ripped from him, and
Right.
and then you get all the way to the end of the series, and it's like some weird stuff was going on actually with
Yeah, like
his
James
parents.
Potter is like kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he's like a bully, and Snape's like, trying to make right by Lily, and it's like, wait, what? So I think there's lots of good drama right there. They're actually very complex characters that I would love to see explore. That would be my hope for a prequel. And at the end of that series, obviously, we lead up to the final episode is going to be Harry getting attacked by Ralph Fiennes' Voldemort.
Oh, like his birth. And
Absolutely.
Yeah. That could be cool. We just kind of back into it. That's where my head was at too. Just like I would love a series with Snape as the protagonist, like a young Snape, and it's all like through his point of view. That would be cool. We got some good comments on social. People were talking a little bit about Voldemort's upbringing. Tom Riddle. That would be cool. That was Melissa who said that. That was a good comment.
Yeah.
And then we got some other comments that were like down the Harry Potter rabbit hole where I'm like, I know nothing about that, but I bet it's awesome, and I can't wait for your dreams to be realized. I have been in the position where, as a super fan of something has gotten adapted into the show, like The Mandalorian, and I know that feeling of giddiness. I do not get that for the Harry Potter, but I am so happy for everyone who does. I'm sure they're just ecstatic, especially because. And I don't know where, like, what do you call Harry Potter fans? Do they have a name? Potheads? That should be their name. If it's not, that should be their name. But
I think you nailed it. They've been calling themselves potheads for over a decade now.
Yeah, that's a good one. If they're not, that's a missed opportunity, and they should be ashamed of themselves. But I don't know where they stand on the Fantastic Beasts series, but it is underwhelming, and I think that is being generous. Because the first movie is just okay, and it's like the world building movie. Yeah. And the second movie is just not good at all. And now you're replacing Johnny Depp with Mads Mikkelsen. It's like this is not off to a good start. We should just forget it. Let's just forget about it. Let's just act like it didn't happen. Maybe we run it back in like 10 years or something,
Yeah, just like, how the entire 2010s were, just reboot everything.
Yeah,
so let's just reboot it.
It's never too early. They're like talking about rebooting Pirates of the Caribbean. They're like, you don't have to wait for the dust to settle. You can just be like, that sucked. Let's go. Let's try again. I mean, look at what Marvel did with after the Amazing Spider-Man series. Like Sony gave Andrew Garfield 2 movies, and then the deal went down with Disney, and it was like, boom, we have a new Spider-Man. Like nothing even happened. So
my heart still hurts, but yes, they did. They certainly did. Yeah,
they're gonna make it right, Kirk. They're gonna do right by us. It's gonna be great. Soon. It's gonna be great. Okay, next, Godzilla versus Kong. This movie. It was moved up, actually. They moved it up, which is like the first time that's happened since ever in the history of this pandemic. And it's one of the Warner movies that is going to release on HBO Max and in theaters simultaneously. And actually, so here's something hilarious. I just read this right before we came on. So they moved it up to March 26th, and they're like, this is going to be one of the first big movies to like go to theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. Then they moved it back 5 days from that date. 5 days. They were like, it's It's going to come out March 26th, and now it comes out March 31st. I was like, that is a bad sign. Does that not throw up huge red flags? Like, what do you need the 5 days for? I have to know.
Oh, it's like, was there like an intern that messed up the weeks? Like, what's
Seriously,
the purpose?
I'm seriously like, here, let me get my calendar out. What day of the week is that? March 26th was a Friday. March 31st is a Wednesday. That is a weird date to release a movie. It's giving me like Cats vibes. You know, whenever Cats went to theaters and they were like, all right, this version's good enough to go to theaters, but when we're done with like the full version, we're going to send that to you guys. And then you can just like swap
2
them
weeks
out.
later, we're going to redistribute, spend thousands and thousands of dollars.
This is like when you're in college and you're like, oh crap, that's due tomorrow. And you're like, okay. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? You email your professor. Oh my gosh, Professor so-and-so, I am so sorry. My mom got in a car accident this weekend and it was terrible. She's fine, thank God, but we're still at the hospital. I left my computer at home. I couldn't do it. Give me like, let's call it 3 more days to knock this out. That's what this is. That is what this is.
I am concerned at the level of lies you told to get through college.
I mean, let's be honest, Kirk. I am a prolific liar. I try to do it as seldom as possible, but I have always been very good at lying. And, you know, when desperate times are called for, I will do it. I will do it, okay? I'm not proud of it. I never did say my mom was in a car crash. I would not do that.
Okay, good. That's good. But your dad was a whole nother story.
One time I said there was a tornado because there was a tornado warning in my county and I had to get to class and I didn't want to go to class and I sent my professor an email and was like, there's a tornado warning and it's getting wild and I don't want to, I'm not going to risk it. I was like, I'll do the homework online. And he was like, okay, that's fine. It was total lie. So
one more digression, man. How easy would it be? Like, oh man, I'm so sorry, professor. My Wi-Fi is down in 2020. I can't come.
Right?
Let me know what I can do. Thanks. Bye.
Be like, hey, the whole neighborhood's out. It's the Hunger Games out here. Like people are turning on each other. It's like that episode of Twilight Zone, Monsters on Mulberry Street or whatever. Yeah. Maple Street. There are monsters on Maple Street. Yeah, where like weird things start happening and then people start killing each other. Yeah, that would work. I think that would work. People would believe that. If all the internet in my neighborhood went out, it would be chaos. I can guarantee it.
Oh yeah, I need a panic room, Jodie Foster style.
Dude, yes. I think we've talked about panic rooms on this podcast. I'm a huge fan of the concept. I would love to have one.
Same.
Lead enforced walls, endless snacks, non-perishables, obviously.
Speaking of Jared Leto, he's in that stinking movie with Jodie Foster and Forrest Whitaker.
Yep. Man, we are way off the track now. Where were we? Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla versus Kong. Okay, we're back. Whew. That was tough. All right. Rapid trailer reaction. We got this on Sunday. Today is Tuesday, date of recording. What's your reaction to this trailer, Kirk? I need to know all of it.
You know what we should have done? We should have recorded ourselves watching the trailer because you would have just gotten 2.5 minutes of me laughing at the whole thing.
Oh,
Like, it was terrible. I don't know what it is, man. Godzilla just... I'm speechless. Godzilla is just like this dumb thing. Like I know that some people have like a connection to it. Like, like, oh man, I saw Godzilla when I was a child. My father took me, and I really connected with it because we are such small beings. Like, no, it's terrible. It's a terrible concept. It should be indestructible, but they always find one little weak spot that changes between every single movie. So now you got King Kong fighting Godzilla. I just can't get down with that. I can't get down with that.
So let's back up.
Yeah.
You do not like monster movies, is what you're saying. Like big giant kaiju level monsters, you're not for it.
I have no interest. I have no interest in them.
Okay, that's fair. I think I understand that personally. Like that concept, specifically Godzilla and kind of King Kong, is just very outdated, I would say, in general. It just doesn't work the same way as before because there are logistical issues with it. Like, if there was a Godzilla level being or even a King Kong, of this scale, it would cause much more havoc than they show in these movies. The thing can stomp out skyscrapers and stuff like that. So it's just hard to reconcile that with the modern age of movies where even things that are way out there have to be logical enough to where you can go, okay, yeah, I'm tracking. You know what I mean? That's just where we are in terms of our entertainment. It can be crazy, but it's got to make sense. And I think it's very hard to make monster movies make sense these days. All that being said, I really liked the Gareth Edwards Godzilla, the first one that they made recently, because it felt like they waited long enough to show the monster in the movie. They did a good job of just showing his tail, just showing his feet. They built out a decent storyline. I thought it was really well done. And I liked Kong Skull Island. I thought that was a decent movie. I thought the CGI of the monkey was mind-blowingly good. I was like, holy cow, this is the best CGI I've ever seen in my life. And I thought the story was decent. I mean, as decent as it can be for what it is. Now, I know Godzilla King of Monsters was terrible. And this trailer does not look great. I will agree with you on that.
Thank you.
But what I don't agree with, I can see why you would be anti-monster movies, but I can still get hyped for a monster movie if it's done correctly, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Sure. I would say that I'm not anti-King Kong. I will say that.
Okay, you're anti-Godzilla. Okay, that's fair.
I'm anti-Godzilla. Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong with Naomi Watts and I think Adrian Brody.
Jack
Black. I mean, say what you want. That was some cutting-edge CGI. I believe you could watch that movie today and still see some pretty fantastic shots of Kong. It was a well-structured story. You saw that Kong was just this. He was wronged. He was just living his own life, and people came in and just destroyed his land and just wanted to collect him, right? Godzilla is just straight up evil and impossible to destroy. King Kong has a heart. That's where I'm coming from.
Well, in that Matthew Broderick Godzilla movie.
Godzilla 2000.
No, before Godzilla 2000. There was Godzilla, and then there was Godzilla 2000.
That's right.
In that one, which I watched countless times as a child, the the thing with Godzilla was that all of her unborn children were underneath the city. And that's why she was raging. So once they figured that out, it was no problem.
Yes.
They're like, oh, we get it. We got it. Okay. This is why you're mad.
You're just a mom.
Sure.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Have you seen Kong Skull Island?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Is the King, I don't remember the Peter Jackson one very well. I saw it probably in 2005 when it came out. Is the Kong in Skull Island way bigger than the Kong in that Peter Jackson movie? Because the Kong in Skull Island is huge. He is eye level with helicopters punching them out of the sky like they're nothing. He's as big as an island, basically.
So I would say he's probably smaller. He's still big. At one point, they strap Kong up in a big movie theater, and he's the entire height. He's on a stage, and he's chained up, arms and feet spread across, and he all the way to the top of the proscenium stage, which I would guess maybe is 80 feet in that theater. But you're right. I think Kong Skull Island. I think
he's at least 300 feet tall.
He's 630 feet tall, the height of the Gateway Arch, I believe, is what the accurate.
Which is probably. They probably scaled him up because they knew they were building to this Godzilla movie, and Godzilla is ginormous. Back to the trailer. I think the trailer, I think they make these trailers somewhat bad sometimes because they're appealing to a very specific type of consumer, the Michael Bay type of consumer, which is fine. Everybody has their own thing. If movies to you are just big flashes, loud noises, shooting guns and things like that, like all power to you. That's fine. But that's what I think they make these kind of movie trailers for, is like that group of people. And so I'm like, it's hard to gauge how good the movie actually is. But my biggest problem with this trailer is that I feel like I know exactly what's going to happen in this movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, so it's going to start off as Godzilla. Like, here's my theory. And if you're like one of these people who doesn't want spoilers, like you want to avoid it, just skip ahead like 3 minutes and we'll probably be done talking about this. But I think it's going to be Godzilla comes back to wherever, San Francisco, wherever he feels like wrecking stuff. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, they call up like Samuel L. Jackson and whoever is like, or whoever's still alive from Kong Skull Island. I don't know. Maybe like whoever, I don't even know who's out there. Michael Fassbender, somebody, or Tom Hiddleston. Tom Hiddleston was in that movie. And they're like, let's get Kong to fight Godzilla, right? And so they start duking it out. Well, then there's like some nerd scientist guy who's like, I created something to fight Godzilla. It's going to be Mechagodzilla, and he's going to come in and try to kill the other Godzilla. And then Kong and Godzilla are going to have to team up to fight Mechagodzilla, because you can't have one of them win. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going to happen. There are some hints at Mechagodzilla being a thing. And there's a snot-nosed nerd scientist guy with like a loading screen behind him. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, this is for sure what's going down. Like that, like, can't fool me on this. I know exactly what's happening.
I just want them to bring Jack Black into the mix and be like, I was frozen in time, because he's like in like the 1940s King Kong.
Yes.
And since this is present day, I want him to be like, I was frozen in a block of ice, just and like, I am back.
Into the Kongverse, you know, just like open all of the multiverse up, because they had John C. Reilly in Kong Skull Island as like the crazy guy who was like stuck on that island following the Vietnam War or whatever.
Yep.
He'd be great to have back. You know, those two together would be just a laser show of hilarious antics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the heights. I just looked up the heights. Peter Jackson's King Kong, 25 feet, not 80.
Okay. Just a bit off, but in the ballpark, you know, you were sub 100.
And Kong Skull Island, 104 feet was its scale.
BS.
It's
BS.
false.
That thing was, I mean, just huge. They come over they're like playing the like classic Vietnam War movie music. They've got all these choppers, and he is eye level batting these things out of the sky like it's nothing. There is no way. There's no way. 104 feet. That's a joke. That is a joke. And like Godzilla, that means he's got to be a similar height. He's like, these skyscrapers are like up to his heel. I mean, they're like, you know what I mean? Like he's huge.
Thank you.
I don't get it. Anyway.
Oh, it's in meters. How dare these people?
How dare we as Americans have a different system of measure? That's just dumb. It's just dumb.
God, I can't.
Let's just convert everything. Meters, all that stuff makes way more sense. Feet and yards is just so arbitrary.
Yes, I think Godzilla's height in Godzilla King of the Monsters is 355 feet, a full 250 feet higher than your boy King Kong in his best form.
That seems like you would not fight somebody who was 250% larger than you. So something there is messed up. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough of Kong. So you're Kong versus Godzilla. You're saying it's going to be a stinker. I'm saying I don't know. Probably will be a stinker, but I'm okay with it. I know exactly what's going to happen in the movie, so if they just execute it well, great. But yeah, that's Kong versus Godzilla. Okay, moving on. Another trailer we got today was Raya and the Last Dragon, which feels like the forgotten Disney movie because they have not marketed this thing at all, which is so contrary to how they usually do this. They've moved its dates. They've shuffled the cast. They've shuffled the producers. Like, it's been crazy. That movie's coming out on March 5th. It's coming to theaters and, just for you, Kirk, Disney Plus Premier Access for the low, low price of $29.99 on the same day, March 5th.
Well, joke's on them. I'm going to go to $5 movie Tuesdays at
Marcus?
my local movie theater.
Yeah, it's hard to justify that cost. I'd have to like have a super spreader event to be able to offset the cost with like a $6 buy-in. Like, come on, guys, let's all get together and spread the virus around and watch Raya and the Last Dragon. Be good stuff. Anyway, we got a full-length trailer. The trailers we were getting before this were like really hard to figure out what's going on, but I want to get your reaction to this trailer and kind of what you're thinking now that we are a bit over a month away from this movie.
Yes, I would say I'm just as confused as when this movie, gave us its introduction. I have a bitter taste in my mouth because, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kirk Doolin, and I am a Degrassi fan.
Yes.
And there is a character on the next gen, the next class, Degrassi. Her name is Manny. The actress is Cassie Steele. She was supposed to be Raya, and they booted her at the 11th hour.
They did.
And so that was a red flag to me because Manny is life. And this trailer, it also gives away everything, much like Godzilla vs. Kong, whatever that movie's actually titled. And they show you everything that's going on. They've got kind of like a reverse Brave thing going on. So like in Brave, Merida's mother turns into a bear, spoiler alert. In this one, the dragon turns into a person to be like a human guidance counselor to Raya. I don't know.
Yes, the dragon has the ability to turn into a human.
Yeah, and she turns into like an old woman. Like she doesn't turn into like
her hair is like purple and blue, or I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. If you can turn into a human, you should just be like in perfect physical form. She just like turns into an old lady, and it's like, well, that doesn't help Raya and her quest. What?
Well, she says she's a bad dragon, so maybe she's bad at all things that dragons can do. I don't know. I think if I had the choice between, if I didn't have any family ties or anything like that, and I had the choice between being a dragon who could speak and do all kinds of dragon things and being human, I would probably choose being a dragon, to be honest.
Yeah, you could fly anywhere you want. Go. No one would mess with you. Yeah, I agree.
Light things on fire. I mean,
this movie's just weird, Cam. I don't know how to put it. It's just weird.
So what
do you think about this?
It's a good point. I mean, I think it's hard to get a grasp on what's going on here. I think it's hard, like, basically what the plot will be. It feels very much like many Disney movies we've seen. There is some sort of adventurer and some sort of like weird offbeat character, and they have to settle their differences and accomplish a goal. Yeah, like that's pretty much the formula. But it is hard to know like what exactly is going to go down, what they're trying to get at in this movie. And I don't know. So here's what I'll say. I think the artwork looks great. I think it looks like there's tons of different colors, tons of different textures. Like they're not just staying in one place that looks one way. Like there's a lot going on, which is cool. It looks pretty action-packed. Like it looks like there's a lot of fighting and stuff like that, which is pretty cool because I think Raya's like a warrior. So that could be a cool, different vibe for Disney Animation Studios. But yeah, beyond that, I don't think that there's like a ton to get super excited for, but I'm just hoping that, I mean, they haven't really put out a stinker in a while. Disney Animation Studios, they've done a really good job ever since they sort of shuffled chairs over there, ever since like Frozen and Tangled, like those, that's when they really sort of turned the ship around. So I'm betting it will be good, but based on the trailer, it's hard to know if it will be or not.
Yep, I bet this is their clunker. I don't want them to have a clunker. I always hope the best. I bet this is their clunker. And I bet that it is better than Godzilla vs. Kong, but not by much.
How do you even compare those two? I mean, they both have dragon lizards in them, so...
Precisely. I'm anti-dragon. I'm claiming my stance right now.
Yeah, you are harshly anti-reptile, Kirk, and that is a little disturbing. I didn't know that about you, but here we are. and this is where we've come to, but you're anti-Godzilla, you're anti this dragon, this furry dragon thing from Raya and the Last Dragon. I mean, where does it end, Kirk? You know, if Killer Croc gets cast in a movie, which I think, he hasn't been, but you're probably going to be anti that. So at least I know where you stand now, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You know who I am. I know who I am.
You're showing your true colors now. Okay, next up, just one last little news story that came out today. They're making a Borderlands movie. For you gamers out there, they're making another video game movie based on Borderlands. This is a game that I've played. It's a great game series. It's a really good like first-person shooter that you can play like cooperatively, like couch co-op. So it's fun for that. But kind of a convoluted plot. It's like basically like a space heist, I guess, kind of like these people, there's a vault that's been locked for like 200 years or something like that. And these people are trying to go get it because they're supposed to be like tons of riches. So there's this group of 4 people who like try to go unlock it and shenanigans ensue, whatever. Well, the casting news is what's really caught my eye. So a while back, it was announced that Cate Blanchett had been cast as Lilith, and Kirk is anti-Cate Blanchett. I don't get that, man. You are whatever. You're entitled to your own opinion, but whatevs. So I was like, oh, that's an interesting.
I'm just a hater.
That's an interesting choice, you know. Cate Blanchett in a video game movie. She'll honestly take any role. She's been in good movies, crappy movies. She's just like whatevs. Everybody
like Nick
needs.
Cage just says yes.
Yeah, everybody needs a paycheck, right? And she just is like, I'm an actor. I'm just gonna act. It doesn't matter what it is. Well, today they announced that another member of this group of 4 is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart has been cast. So out of this group of 4 like main characters, the only ones we know are Cate Blanchett and Kevin Hart, and I am so perplexed by this casting. I'm just like, what are we doing? What is happening?
Okay, I'll tell you. I am also a hater on this. This is the hate episode with featuring Kirk's all of his hate. I always don't like video game movies because they never work out.
They're almost always bad. I mean, there's like no, I can't even think of one good video game movie.
But when you described that game, like honestly, the name of the game sounds kind of dumb. I'll say that, Borderlands, like it's too vague. But when you were describing it, I was like, that sounds pretty cool. Like, tell me more. Like, I'm in on this plot for the first time in all the video game movies. You know, so
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent plot. I mean, I think it's great for a video game. But that's the thing that people don't understand is like, and maybe it's just like they're just trying to make money. They're not really trying to make a franchise. But the plots in video games don't have to be movie plots. Like they just have to literally get you from one objective to the next. And so there's lots of things that you can do in a video game that just do not withstand. Like they just do not hold up whenever you put them in a movie. I just don't know when people are going to realize that. I guess when people stop buying tickets to see these movies. This project is just odd. So there's that casting. There's the fact that Eli Roth is directing this. Are you familiar with Eli Roth? He's a horror director, like a pretty like well-known one. I am just like, what is happening? What is happening? And Kevin Hart and Cate Blanchett is must see. I don't care how you feel about either of those, but both of them on screen together is like, I'm for sure showing up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I love Kevin Hart. The combination of everything here is just
it's very odd.
Again, I'm speechless. You know, so let's pull up Eli Roth.
Also, classic PR line by the Borderlands people put out there. This is Kevin Hart as you've never seen him before. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but sure.
Interesting. Eli Roth, Cabin Fever, which will haunt your dreams forever if you ever watch that movie. It has, Sean Hunter from Boy Meets World and a light that you never thought you could see, and just horrible. Hostel 2, Green Inferno,
man.
Knock Knock, House with a Clock in Its Walls. Well, that's very different, but it's
Chainsaw.
Back to Jack Black. And then you have...
Cate Blanchett was in that. She was in House with a Clock in Its Walls.
Oh, there you go. There's the connection.
There's always
You liked her.
There's always a link.
Yeah, that's going to be bonkers to see them together acting on screen. That matchup, I'm very intrigued. I will see this movie, even if it has a terrible trailer. I got to see this.
It will probably be bad because all video game movies are bad. Maybe Tom Holland is the messiah of video game movies. Maybe he will be the one to change everything. He will be the one to save video game movies with his Uncharted film that keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So
yes,
maybe Kirk.
He's the one.
They're also making a Tomb Raider 2 with Alicia Vikander, which
okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Can they open up the Tomb Raider multiverse and bring Angelina Jolie back in it and they can fight together?
Let's do into the Tomb Raider verse. That's what every franchise should do. Is they're like, all right, let's just take all the reboots, take all the best things people liked out of them, open up some sort of wormhole, and let's make this happen.
Yes.
All right, shifting gears drastically. I don't even know. We need a palate cleanser. We need something to happen to get us from Cate Blanchett, Eli Roth, and Kevin Hart into potential Oscar nominee One Night in Miami. I don't know what that is, but we need it. We need one of those vocal exercises.
I have all these Funko Pops, but I don't know how to make them work.
Well, you have quite an assortment.
What?
You have quite an assortment there. I mean, you've got...
Oh, yes, I have a whole basket.
I can hear their heads rattling around in there.
I don't have shelves yet, so they're living this basket.
That's sad. Well, that worked, Kirk. That was our palate cleanser. You did it. Congratulations. Okay. We are reviewing, as I said, One Night in Miami. This movie is on Prime Video, so you can watch it at home for free, assuming you have an Amazon Prime membership. If you don't have a Prime membership, you got to do it. It's free shipping, 2 days. You get all kinds of stuff. And Jeff Bezos already knows everything about you, so don't be worried about privacy or anything. He knows it. It's already done. It doesn't even matter. So Prime Video, you can watch it there. And Kirk is going to synopsis this lovely film for us.
Yes, I am.
Fire away.
On the same night of Cassius Clay's famous boxing match win against Sonny Liston, he shares his victory with his closest colleagues and friends, not in a big party, not in a big shindig, but in a hotel room, rather a motel room, with Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown. They discuss life, civil rights, and more. Now streaming on Amazon Prime.
There it is. Well done, Kirk.
Thank you.
Yeah, good synopsis. I think worth noting, this movie is historical fiction in the sense that it is inspired by true events, but the whole thing is imagining what a conversation between these four people would be like, knowing that they were connected and were all together at one point. So it's just kind of imagining what that is. And it is based on a stage play by Kemp Powers, who adapted the play to film as well. So he's the screenwriter. So just good context to have going into it, I think.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Well, let's jump into our superlatives. Let's go with the Oscar goes to. Kirk, who are you giving your Oscar to? This was a tough choice, very tough choice.
This was very hard because when you first turn this movie on, you're like, oh, that's the obvious choice. X, Y, Z. L, M, N, O, P. There's four. I couldn't think of a fourth letter. Son of a gun. This was very hard for me, but as I dissected the movie, as I watched it all the way through, I have to go with Aldous Hodge, who plays Jim Brown.
Great choice.
Yes. So Jim Brown, ladies and gentlemen, was a famous NFL player. Cameron, he was an American fullback, is what the internet tells me.
Yeah, one of the greatest running backs of all time.
For the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
And he could have broken 1 billion more records. He may even hold some records today. I'm not quite sure.
I know his rushing record, the one they talk about in the movie, the 1,863 yards in a season, is long gone. It's been
Okay.
like there are people who have surpassed 2,000 yards in a season multiple times, so that's done. But
I got you.
I'm sure there's some record out there. He's
But
still
at
got
that time, right? So he was a trailblazer. He was a true celebrity during that time frame, and he had a lot of I wouldn't say political power, but he used his celebrity to really influence people. Not in a way that influenced people like some of our other characters in the movie, like Malcolm X, even like Sam Cooke and his accomplishments, or even Muhammad Ali's. But what Jim Brown does, what Aldous Hodge does in this movie, is he is calm, cool, and collected. There are so many things that the other characters are discussing in the room between all of the hate that is going on during this time period, akin to things that we're still seeing today in 2021. But he's listening. He's listening and he's processing it. There's so many people that want to just scream out their hatred, and who's to say that they're wrong? But something about this calm, cool, and collected Aldous Hodge as Jim Brown was so captivating that you couldn't turn away. There are several moments where he's like the big brother of this group. He's clearly the tallest of them, and possibly quite honestly the strongest of all four of the actors as well in the room. And he's really just kind of directing them, guiding them, kind of mentoring them. And I'm not quite sure if he was the oldest one in the room too, as far as historically. There's a good chance that he was, but this character, this representation, this characterization of Jim Brown really caught my eye and is very different from the other performances that I had to give the Oscar to Mr. Aldous Hodge.
Yeah, I think it's a great choice. These four gentlemen who act in this movie all do a stellar job. I think that's worth noting. Like I mean, unless Kirk and I choose opposite pairs, there will be some people who are like left out. But it is worth noting that there are some really good acting performances. So that's a great one to call out. Aldous Hodge, man, he's going to be great. I mean, he already is. He's just like now starting to get big roles, and I just can't wait to see what more we get from him because he can bring it. And his performance in this movie was stellar. For my Oscar, I went with Leslie Odom Jr., who plays Sam Cooke. Man, what can this guy not do? His voice, he has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard in my life. The dude is incredible. Got to see him live in concert before, and just he has one of those soulful, jazzy voices that just is rare to come by these days, and one that is just totally unique. Which makes it hard for him to make like pop music and stuff like that, which is a bummer. But when he sings jazz standards and stuff like that, holy cow! And even his original jazz music, just incredible. And as an actor, you know, for somebody who had very little acting experience going into Hamilton, then doing Broadway, winning awards, then jumping over into cinema and just continuing to elevate his game, it's really remarkable. He's gotten a crack at a couple of big movies, but, you know, shout out to Regina King for giving him a chance in this movie. I think he totally lived up to it. He totally showed that he is capable of acting at the highest of high levels among other actors who are doing a great job. His character is sort of positioned opposite of Malcolm X in this movie. And so they find themselves in this position where they're butting heads trying to, you know, each state their case and talk about their experiences and things like that. And he does a great job being a counterbalance to Ben Kingsley Adir, who is playing Malcolm X. And they just have great banter, really good job of identifying each other's tone and doing what all great actors have to do, which is taking what the other person gives you and making something out of it. I think the other thing of note about this movie is there's very little activity in this movie outside of dialogue. Everything, all of it is driven by the dialogue. So it is tough to do as an actor, I'm sure, and to make sure that the energy is just right at each moment throughout the film. And that's something I thought Leslie Odom Jr. did a great job of. Also, like you could hear that he tried to sound like Sam Cooke whenever he sang a little bit. You could hear that he committed to this role, and he did a fantastic job. So it's Leslie Odom Jr. for me as my Oscar. All
Excellent.
right, let's move on to Scene Stealer. Who you got, Kirk?
Scene Stealer, Mr. Leslie Odom Jr.,
Nice.
ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, everything you said, specifically with his vocals. The world's first introduction, one of the grandest introductions of all time, was his role in Hamilton as Aaron Burr. It's funny because when you listen to that soundtrack and then you listen to him in the live recording from the film Hamilton, he sounds very different. His character is more developed. There's a snarl to his face and to the level of his vocal projection, because he's fully characterized what kind of attitude Burr would be after the recording. He's done this as well. When you see him as Sam Cooke in this film, he is Sam Cooke. He is such a good vocalist, and he has spent so much time with his characterization that snarl that you see in Hamilton completely gone. I'm a big Sam Cooke fan, so it was hard for me not to pick Leslie Odom as the best Oscar in this one. Probably, I've always known of his, the big song "Change Gonna Come." When I started my professional career working at the Gateway Arch. And there was this grumpy old man who's now passed away, rest in peace, but he loved the Motown era, and he would play Sam Cooke every morning as we were opening up the shop. Every morning, and I grew to love it. The Chain Gang, and when that scene happens, he goes into a crowd and he loses his band essentially, and the power goes out, right, for the sound system, and they sing the Chain Gang. And he gets the whole audience going in it. Like, my mind was just blown. I was just so baffled by how well he was able to mimic Sam Cooke's voice. There were some characterizations in there that are just spot on in the color of his voice, and no one could do that except for Leslie Odom Jr. I'm convinced. So hopefully we get a full-blown biopic of Leslie Odom Jr. as Sam Cooke. That would blow my mind, because there was a lot of stuff there. I love how you mentioned that he's playing opposite to Malcolm. So Malcolm X, of course, is someone who is basically this missionary. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's there on the Muslim purpose and campaign and whatever you may, religious walk. And Leslie Odom Jr., while he's there to support the Black community, he's also one of the wealthiest men in America at that time. He owned his own record label, and he had the power to inject what he wanted, whatever social commentary he wanted into his songs. But Malcolm X said he wasn't doing enough. And that friction that you were talking about was huge. It was so huge. So I hope those conversations were happening in that hotel room that night. Like, that's so creative to think that this writer was throwing this at them, because everything has been dissected to basically say that much ever since. So you would imagine that there had to be some sort of exchange. There are niceties, as we see in the film, but it'd be really cool to be a fly on the real wall of that room and time travel and see what was going on in there.
Yeah, definitely. So for my Scene Stealer, I'll jump into it because we did the opposite of each other. So I chose Aldous Hodge as my Scene Stealer. So I was waiting to jump in with that, because it's funny that we flip-flopped there, but we both kind of gravitated to the same two performances. I think you said a lot of great things about Aldous Hodge. I think in summary, and I think you said this as well, but just the fact that you have all these powerful personalities and people who really were powerful personalities in their real life, Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, Sam Cooke, strong personalities. And then you got Jim Brown, who's reserved, picking his moments. I think as an actor, and as an actor of Aldous Hodge's capabilities, you probably want to, he doesn't have as much spoken dialogue as everybody else, so he probably wants to shine in those moments. So I just what stuck out to me was how committed he was to the role, and he didn't overact at all. It was very understated. It was perfect, honestly, and it made it so, like you said, when he spoke, it really came across well. And I think he understood that that was necessary based on the demands of the script, that his character plays a vital role in tying this group together, like you said, being the big brother. And so it wouldn't be effective if he went for glory. He had to be true to the character and the way that it was written. And so that commitment to that is what stole it for me. He's not what I would call a scene stealer in a traditional sense. There are plenty of high energy performances in this movie. Especially Eli Gorey, who plays, Muhammad Ali, obviously a very like bombastic kind of guy, the champ, the greatest. And then Malcolm X, who, was a professional orator. I mean, that's what he did for a living. Like, he spoke to big groups of people and got them excited. So it is, it's interesting that, this is the performance that sticks out, but it's because of the contrast to the others and Aldous Hodge's commitment to that role that it does. So, great job by all four gentlemen who star in this movie. They did a fantastic job, and shout out to Regina King for a great job directing them through these performances. I mean, she's a phenomenal actor in her own right, so she knows what she's doing there. But let's jump into some analysis on this movie, and let's start with Showstopper and what part of this movie, what specific aspect it was that really stuck out to you or took your breath away, Kirk.
Easy. It goes back to Sam Cooke singing, because they didn't overdo it. They could have easily just turned this thing into a musical where Sam Cooke sang in every scene, and they didn't. They pulled their punches. They landed them when they needed to, when it was relevant. And again, I think they spent a lot of time making sure that character was right. I think Leslie Odom Jr. made sure of that, but I think more importantly, the production crew did to frame him as close to possible as him, because I don't, in the famous it's again, we talked about, we're spoiling this, it's history. There's a famous scene, they did this in Will Smith's Ali back in 2001 whenever it came out, when Cassius Clay wins that boxing match. He shouts out to Sam Cooke and he calls him over to him as the press is surrounding him. I think he says, "Who's more prettier than us?" and "Who's beautiful?" and they're hyping each other up. So the fact that character had to be so right in all aspects, and what's more powerful than of social change than what we can use in film and music and culture. We shape our culture by kind of marking it with the artists of the time, and so using Sam Cooke's music and his songs in the various ways that they did. That was the showstopper for me, and most clearly there were two moments of that. Definitely when he sings "Chain Gang," when he makes the whole crowd be his backup and his instrumental for him, because he has no band, he has no sound system. And then when he goes on Johnny Carson and he sings "A Change Is Gonna Come," that's just so good. Those moments. Yeah,
it's really good, and like going back to our acting stuff, like, Leslie Odom was the guy to do this. He was the perfect guy to do this. And there was a really good piece that came out today or yesterday in the LA Times about how Leslie Odom Jr. originally passed on this role, and he reconsidered. And his reasoning is sound. I mean, it's an ambitious movie. It's a really, really ambitious movie, and a movie that, adapting a stage play to the screen is tough. It's tough to do it effectively. We've talked about it before. And, doing what they did in this movie, imagining what these four titans would have talked about, these people who are just huge personalities, huge historical figures. It is, Leslie Odom Jr. called it audacious. I mean, I think it's exactly that. It's bold. When he knew that he would have to sing "A Change Is Gonna Come" at the end of the movie, that is a lot to ask. And so I think he originally shied away from it. But I'm so glad that he came back, because he was the perfect person for it. And he, to your point, really helped seal it and really drive it home. So it's a good call. Maybe we'll post that article on social tomorrow or something like that, so you guys can check it out. It's a pretty interesting interview. My showstopper, I had to go with Mr. Kent Powers' screenplay. He's, like I said, he's the playwright and he's also the screenwriter. He's an up-and-comer. He's sort of newish on the scene, but he wrote for Soul. He wrote and co-directed Soul as well, which we talked about that a couple episodes ago. If you didn't listen to it, hop back and listen to it. A really thoughtful movie, Soul, and just incredibly thoughtful. And his approach was totally the same here. I would describe it as nothing less than completely thoughtful. Like I was just talking about, when you're imagining these conversations, you have to be responsible in doing so. You have to be as true as you can possibly be to what we know about these people to make it not irresponsible. And I think something that we talked about when we talked about the trial of the Chicago 7, people criticize Aaron Sorkin sometimes for creating historical fiction after you know what happens, like using hindsight to make your story better. But I think in this case, Kent Powers really reins it in, and he doesn't go crazy and make it like, oh my gosh, they're having all these incredible conversations. But the conversations they were having felt very real, and the best thing that they accomplished is explaining the deep complexity of race relations in America in the 60s and those issues that are still relevant now. And the screenplay, being as sound as it was, answered that question that we always ask it of why are you adapting this to film? It answered it right there. It was like, boom, now is the time for it. It needs to be seen by mass audiences. There are things happening that were happening in the 60s that are still happening now. There are conversations that people are still having. And Kent Powers knew that this is not cut and dry. If race relations were super easy to solve, it'd be a done deal. There is a high level of complexity, and everybody has a different viewpoint based on where they were raised, and that was perfectly shown through Sam Cooke and Malcolm X, seeing things differently, but still being close. I mean, it's beautifully written. It really is. It's beautifully written. And again, I go back to level of difficulty on this movie was extremely high when you have a movie that has no major events taking place to drive the story forward. It's only dialogue. So I thought to do that and keep people's attention for a 2-hour plus movie, bravo. Just incredible.
Yeah, you're right. The main event, the main action of the movie happens at the start. We have the fight.
The fight, yeah, that's it.
There it is, right there, and then the rest is really just the characters, the people articulating where they're at in life at that time. And if you're like, nah, I'm not much of a talky guy, reconsider. It does take place in mostly one location. There's probably 6 locations altogether that they travel to. Very, very intelligently done too, as they travel. But reconsider for sure. This definitely doesn't lose momentum at any point.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think. Well, yeah, let's jump into director's shoes because I have more to add there, but I 100% agree. Like, if you're someone who's like, it's just dialogue, pass. Like, I don't want that to be lost. Like, it is all dialogue, but it's really well executed.
But isn't life all a dialogue, Cameron?
Yes, it is.
That's what I have to say to them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. It sure is, and that's why we love this stuff. Okay, let's go into director's shoes. What notes do you have for our new director on the scene, Regina King?
Miss Regina King, stellar debut performance as director. Bravo. I would say that very similar to... So the easiest thing to compare this to is the most recent film that was also a stage play that is akin to these. So, of course, we had Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which honestly did not really feel like it was an adapted stage play. That could have been, if that was written today, I'd have been like, all right, look at this movie that was compiled. But if we look back at the other one in the cycle from August Wilson, Fences, also directed, starred Denzel Washington. Fences felt like it was adapted from a stage play.
100%.
And this one does too. Like, and maybe people can't notice it unless they're big theater goers or they've been to the theater enough times to kind of know the tricks of the theater, to know how you guide your audience through a story on a stage. And that's what this felt like a lot of the time. But I'm a big theater guy, so it didn't give me. I wasn't like, "Ooh, I see you." It was just familiar, so I
Yeah.
knew what they were doing with their storytelling. And obviously, it was easy for them to tell it like that because of, I'm sure, the original stage directions. It's kind of hard to pull those apart when it's ingrained in the original script, in the pulse of the story. So I would say that the reason I chose Aldous Hodge as the best actor in this movie is because he has the most film experience of those actors, and it was clear that he was commanding the screen like a film actor versus a stage actor, and that was present. And Leslie Odom, who we know is a stage actor, was leaps and bounds better than the others as far as in line as who is taking this as a film versus a stage.
Yeah.
So the direction was a little too stage theatrical. I was hoping that there would be a even bigger translation to give us what this story is like on film. Despite that, still loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good notes. For my director's shoes, I think we could have used some more historical context. I think that some of what's going on at the beginning could have been swapped out for different scenes of character development for these guys. I think especially when it comes down to Malcolm X and Sam Cooke, some of those, like the Copacabana scene with Sam Cooke, like, okay, I get what they're trying to get at there, but like we know that. Like we know that it's the 60s, and we know what people went through in the 60s. And so we don't need to hash that out. I think we could have done with more historical context. I thought the scene that they did with Jim Brown returning to his home, I thought that was brilliant. And I would have liked to see that kind of permeated throughout the other characters. And I think I get why they focus around the Sonny Liston fight, but just too much time there. Too much time spent. I think we could have cut that down a bit and added some historical context to help it. Whenever Malcolm X is talking, that's Malcolm X. I mean, he's got, if you've ever seen Malcolm X, the Spike Lee movie, interesting person. Lots going on there that could have been delved into that I think they probably should have gotten more into, because the main conflict ends up being between Sam Cooke and Malcolm X. And if you don't have that historical context of where Malcolm X is coming from, what his life was like growing up, everything that he's been through, going to prison, etc., it's hard to get there emotionally, for sure. So I think that's what I probably would have done differently, and so I think I would have added a little bit to the runtime so that I could get that in. So I'm sure there are scenes that do that ended up on the cutting room floor to go with different scenes that perhaps felt a little bit better, felt like an easier way to ease into the movie, but I think they could have gone a different direction and focused more on the historical side there. So
that's a great point. That's a great point, because I mean, there's so much that happened during that time period that we're still kind of digesting. There are things that happened that, quite honestly, the public was either censored on stuff that like really occurred, or it just didn't get publicized. Like we see it today, things that happen. There's so much news out there that it's impossible to see it all. So to be able to display more of exactly who these people were to that level, you're exactly right. I accidentally, by happenstance, before I knew this movie was even coming out, that it was in production and filming and all that, I watched as I was hanging my Christmas lights in November last year, I watched The Two Killings of Sam Cooke. It kind of talked about his life in the industry, and it's streaming on Netflix now. And it also talked about his death and what happened and then what surrounded that. And then after that, I saw that on HBO Max, I had X amount of days to watch Malcolm X, and I never watched Malcolm X all the way through. So I was like, sweet, I'm going to watch this through. And then lo and behold, as I'm halfway through watching Malcolm X, because it's a 4-hour movie, I see, One Night in Miami is coming. I was like, this is so perfect. And so for me, I had that immediate at least cinematic references to join this movie. So I hear you on that for saying someone who's coming in blind, maybe they don't have a lot of knowledge, maybe they're younger, they don't know all the details. I would say, yeah, we definitely need some more information there.
Yeah, so I went back and watched Malcolm X after I watched this movie because I felt like that void. There was that void. I was like, man, I don't feel as connected to this character as I feel like I should. And then I watched Malcolm X, and I'm like, there we go. Like there it is. I mean, it took Spike Lee 3.5 hours to give it to me. Like you said, the dude doesn't make short movies, but yeah, it was helpful to have that context. So I think it would have been good to have a little bit of that here. Okay, let's do overall thoughts and final scores. Like we said at the outset, this is expected to be an Oscar contender. Let's see where we land on it.
A very cool movie, very cool concept to dive into this. Because it's a stage play, it's very also easy to compare it to the $1 Million Quartet, which that was an actual full-blown musical on Broadway, had lots of success, and there was this famous photo of Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, and now I have to look it up. And Jerry Lee Lewis. So they're sitting at a piano. They all happen to be at Sun Record Studios sometime in the late 50s, right before this happened in the early 60s. And so that show very similarly was about what life was like to them. They now obviously very different. Those are 4 white men, and they still talked about race during that time though, and they actually talk about women's rights during that time, during that show as well. So each show is very different in its own right. So it was really neat to see this coming out, and it's so frustrating because it was going to debut in 2020 and COVID destroyed that. So I really hope that when Broadway opens back up, this thing can shine. And I really think I really think it will. So this movie, big Oscar contender. I think it's got a lot of weight. I think it's got a lot of power to really sweep some stuff. I'm going to go with 9.5 kernels out of 10.
Yeah, great score. Love it. Man, I had a hard time scoring this movie. It was just, I knew it was high, but I was just like, where am I landing on it? I thought Regina King did an impeccably great job for a first-time director. I mean, she's got a bright future in directing. I can't wait to see what else she's got coming. I think her and Kent Powers matching up on this was just, they made music, and it was excellent. I think there are some things from an executional standpoint I would have done differently that I delved into in director's shoes, but overall, I mean, I think if this doesn't get nominated for Best Picture, I'd be shocked. I think it's one of my favorite movies from this Oscar cycle, and really well done. I'm actually eager to watch it again because I feel like there is more to delve into there. So I'm giving it an 8.9 out of 10. I thought it was really excellent. I expect to see some acting nominations for sure, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we got. I mean, definitely would be surprised if it didn't get nominated for Best Picture, I should say, and I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys took home an acting award. So, and maybe an adapted screenplay. I don't know. There is definitely Oscar award potential for this movie. It was very, very good.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's One Night in Miami. Like I said, it's available on Amazon Prime, so be sure to check that out. Bum your parents' password, whatever you have to do to be able to watch it. It's a good one, and it's just very thoughtful. And I think we both scored it very highly. So if you agree with us, then you'll enjoy it. But let's shift gears again abruptly. Like I mentioned at the outset, today is National Planning a Vacation. Oh yeah, do the palate cleanser with all that nonsense. Today is National Vacation Planning Day.
Yes.
So it got us thinking, sometimes you watch a movie and you think, I would like to go there. I would like to disappear into that movie and live there or vacation there, or at least visit for a time. So let's dive into that. We're going to do our Schoolyard pick of movies or places from movies that you would like to vacation to. And I get to kick us off here.
Okay.
This is tough. There are a lot of good options, surprisingly. I think number one on my list is going to have to be Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. That's number one. And I'm talking the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
That scene, the pure imagination scene with Gene Wilder, is one of the greatest scenes in the history of film. It is so good. It is masterful. That movie is old as all get out, and I still watch that scene and go, oh man, that looks awesome. So I just would love to visit the Chocolate Factory.
When those giant white doors open after the elevator, and there was such a possibility for that to look super cheap.
Oh yeah.
They went all out. They wanted to make sure that place looked as authentic as a real candy garden could be. Like, oh, it's so good.
So two favorite parts of that. The big mushrooms that they like reach into the white part, and it's like Cool Whip or like some sort of cream. Looks incredible. Yeah. Also, of course, the drinking the like chocolate out of the cup and then taking a bite out of the cup. It's just iconic. And I'm allergic to chocolate, ironically, so that could be a living hellscape for me in the Chocolate Factory. But there are plenty of, they have the everlasting gobstoppers. They have the gum that's like a 5-course meal that turns violet. So, I mean, there's just lots of options there. I could stay away from... I'm not going to go Augustus Gloop and fall into the chocolate river, but I'll get my fill of other things.
Excellent. I'm going to go with... This is difficult because there's so many ways you could take this, because you also have to think about like the cons. So like if I say
the safety factor.
Yeah. Like, oh, if I just like easy first choice that comes to your mind is like, oh, I'll just go to Star Wars. No, they're living under constant distress and war. Like, you got to be really careful about where you think you're going. You
can't just be going to Tatooine. Like, you might be under attack. It's just, you got to be careful.
No. So I'm going to start this off with a very pleasant trip to 51st Dates, because that takes place in Hawaii,
nice.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Very good. Yeah. Good choice.
This is a quirky movie. It may be Adam Sandler's last decent movie. That's hard to say.
Could be.
Besides, last decent comedy, I should say. Of course, we saw Uncut Gems, and that is a gem. It is a gem. But 51st Dates, where there's true, authentic comedy, not really as least forced comedy, blue humor as possible. It's just great, and it's on this backdrop of the beautiful, beautiful islands. So I've been to Hawaii one time, and I want to go 30 more times before I die. So don't know how to make that happen, but 51st Dates.
It is paradise, Hawaii. It's I went for the first time a couple of years back. Unbelievable. We went to Maui. I was like, this is the greatest. I can see why people enjoy this. It's basically where I was at. I was like, yeah, this is nice. I could see this. Good pick. I like that one. Okay. Now, you did mention Star Wars.
I did.
And the difficulties therein. I'm picking Star Wars. More specifically, I'm picking the planet of Coruscant, which is sort of like the capital, like where the Republic government goes down, like where that happens.
Yes, just thinking, where it literally goes down. It gets bombed, Cam.
It does. But I would go on like a chill day, like no budding wars or deaths or anything. I think of this as kind of like taking a trip to Washington, D.C. It's like, go visit the Jedi Temple, go visit the Senate, the Galactic Senate, go visit, whatever. There's lots of good places to eat. That's the kind of vacation I'm seeing here. So, let's hope I pick my times right and I don't end up in the middle of an intergalactic conflict or blown up by the Death Star or something. Like, that would be bad. But I think if I play my cards right, it could be pretty enjoyable.
Beautiful. I'm going to go with my next pick, a little place called Bruges. It's in Belgium.
Oh, in Bruges. Yeah.
Yes. There's this wonderful movie, Milvie. I'm calling them Milvies from now on, called In Bruges with, it's from the man. Oh my gosh, I love. What's wrong with me? Cameron, help me. Help me. I'm falling apart.
Who are you looking for? The director?
Yeah, what's his name?
Well, I know Colin Farrell's in it, right?
Martin McDonagh.
Martin McDonagh, yeah.
He's a famous playwright. I almost love his theaters even more. So Martin McDonagh wrote this wonderful film in Bruges with Colin Farrell, and it's this tiny little town in Belgium that they escape to for horrible reasons. But I always find myself, I think I probably play on my phone too much. I think my wife thinks I play on my phone too much. I admit it. I admit it. I should,
That's the first step, Kirk. That's the first step.
So it's difficult because I have to be in contact with X amount of people for my job. So, like when 10 years ago on my honeymoon, I went on a cruise and we got no internet, no connection, could talk to no one. It was so cool. And so I think like a little town like Bruges would be like that. Stone walkways and bridges and little gondolas through the town, and that's where I want to go. I think it'd be pretty fun as long as I'm not in the other antics that happen in that film.
Yeah, you just want the vibe. You want the vibe. Yeah. You want to get off the grid a little bit. I feel you. That's a good one. Okay, my third pick. I am gonna go with Tron. Take me into Tron, baby. It's just great. Tron Legacy, that movie, the aesthetic, the Daft Punk music, I just envision myself being in there, riding on one of those laser bikes, doing my thing. There's Daft Punk playing just deafeningly loud behind me. It just sounds great. I don't think it would be like a full vacation, but I think I could spend a few hours trolling around there and doing my thing before things get weird and dangerous and Jeff Bridges tries to kill me, and then it's just, I'm out at that point.
Get out of there before Jeff Bridges shows up. Yeah, for sure.
That's my third pick.
I want to go as I want Tron costumes for Halloween this year. I think that'd be really fun.
Ooh, I like that. That would be cool. That would be very cool.
My next pick is, hopefully our listeners know this film. I know you know this film, Cameron. There's a little film back in the 80s or 90s with Martin Short in it called Clifford.
Oh, boy. Clifford.
Clifford is this little rambunctious child who just is untamable. He has got unbounded energy, and all he wants to do is go to this wonderful amusement park, Dinosaur World. And I, too, wish to go to this amusement park because it looks like a blast. Like, there are some horrifying elements of it before, like, the destruction of all that's going on. But, man, I think it'd be killer to be able to go inside Dinosaur World from Clifford.
That movie scarred me for life. I watched it at way too young an age, as I often did, because I was the baby in the family. So I often was forced to watch movies that were definitely should not have been shown to me at the age that I was shown it. And that movie scared me so bad. The scene I'm remembering, and it's all a blur probably because for psychological defense mechanism purposes, I've blocked much of it out. But I feel like there's a scene with him, he falls asleep on the airplane and has a dream about Dinosaur World or something like that. Yeah, and that's just it scarred me for life. So no, I do not want to go to Dinosaur World, though I'm sure it's great. Good call. Wow, what a deep cut, Kirk. That was that was deep. Okay, man, I'm down to some really tough ones here. It's hard because I don't want to leave really good ones on the board. Okay, I'll take an easy one. You're not going to pick this one anyway because you're not a Lord of the Rings guy. I'm taking Lord of the Rings, but I want to go to either the Shire, which is where the hobbits live, Hobbiton, or Rivendell, which is where the elves live. Rivendell is a little stuffy, a little bit highbrow, maybe a little too formal for me, but it seems just serene and beautiful. The Shire feels nice, quiet. There's, you can grab a pint, chill out with all the little hobbit people. There's grassy hills, there's strawberries and cream. I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. but I think it could get boring over time. So it's like it's between those two places, but definitely not Mordor. Probably not Gondor because it's always going down at Gondor.
Right.
So yeah, those would be my top picks from the Lord of the Rings Middle Earth universe.
Okay. Okay. I see you. I see you. I'm gonna have to pick, and don't hate me for this.
I won't.
You might hate me for this.
I won't.
I'm just gonna pick La La Land.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
a great pick.
Thank you. Thank you. Specifically, the world of La La Land, right? So like we've got LA, I want to get to the Griffith Observatory like
Yes.
badly. You know, I'm a big Rebel Without a Cause fan, and I would say 50% of the action in that movie takes place in the observatory, and then you've got La La Land and just the wonderful world of color and dance and the love letter to that city there. And so I want to be that. I want to be in the specific world of La La Land that Damien Chazelle, I'm going to call him Shaz, created. So
Damien Chazelle, yes. That's a great pick. I love that movie so hard. It's great. Love it. My fifth pick, we're really down to it now. I am going to go with the world from the Lego movie.
Yes.
Because there are
pick.
like all of these different realms that are based on like the different Legos you can buy. So this is kind of a hack because you could like go to like basically the middle Earth. You can go to like the city, like, and everything's just very colorful and everything is awesome, as they say in that movie. I think it would be so fun. I play the Lego video games with my wife all the time. We love them. They're so fun. So I think I would really enjoy just trolling around the Lego world for a little bit. Maybe I could even become like a little Lego minifigure while I'm there. That would be cool, just to kind of live that life for a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's a good pick, I think, for me. I think I would really enjoy it, probably more than most.
I love that. Am I my last one then? Is it me?
Yeah, final pick.
All right, final pick. I got to go with, I'm not a big, I would say I'm not a big period piece kind of guy, but this show, this masterpiece show, Downton Abbey, it really hooked me, man. It really, I was against it for a long time. I finished episode 1 and I told Aubrey, I'm like, yeah, hit to go to the next episode. Let's see what this has going on. And so specifically, we're talking about movies, but they did come out with a movie, so it is eligible. So I want to go to the castle. Thank you, thank you. I want to go to the castle at Downton Abbey. So
it looks beautiful.
Place.
I haven't watched the show. I should. It's it's the oppositional defiance disorder, Kirk. But
that's right.
It looks just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I would love to go there as long as I still get like butlers and servants and.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a given. I think you would automatically adopt a really great accent.
Right.
Every conversation you had, you'd be dropping little, double entendres, little like. Little quips here and there that are buried in, passive aggressive statements. I mean, I think that all comes with the territory.
His handkerchief in his tea.
Exactly that. That all comes with it. That's all in the package.
Yes. Yeah. Got to go there.
Love it. Any honorable mentions, Kirk? Anything you were considering that you didn't pick? I've got a few.
Yeah. I've got a couple. I did have Star Wars on my list. I have Couples Retreat because I think. I think they're at Sandals.
Yeah, Sandals. Yep.
I've got The Proposal because I love that rom-com, and I think it would be fascinating to be in Alaska during its like 30-day of light only stretch.
Yes.
Aubrey, my wife, has mentioned that sounds miserable, and I just think it'd be really cool. I don't know why. And then I also had X2. I want to go to, or any of the X-Men. I want to go to
the X-Men, like Xavier School of Extraordinary Children.
Gifted, yeah. I want to go. I want to go to the mansion. I want to go to the school. Yeah,
that's the X Mansion, man. That's a good pick. I did not have that. I don't know. That's a big miss. My one superhero one that I had was Xandar from Guardians of the Galaxy. Looks really cool. I thought about Gotham City, but man, that place is dangerous. I mean, just so dangerous. I would love to meet Bruce Wayne, but outside of that, like, I'm not trying to get gunned down in the streets. That's basically like going to downtown St. Louis, like it's just, that's bad news. Sad but true. Okay. The Oasis from Ready Player One, that's pretty cool. I got a lot of video game ones like Wreck-It Ralph. That would be super fun. The Wizarding World, barring I don't want to get killed by Death Eaters or anything, but if I could just like stroll around Hogwarts and fly on a hippogriff or something, that would be pretty dope. And then I think that's all of them. Oh no, last one. This is one that I really considered picking. It's kind of an obscure pick. There was a movie called Brooklyn starring Saoirse Ronan. It's this really romantic film. Man, I wanted to dissolve into that movie. I saw it in theaters. I was just like, please envelop me into your essence. I want to live in this era. It's just such a beautiful movie, such a beautiful production design. Yeah. I loved that movie, so I would take that.
We should have had at the top of the Schoolyard pick. Can you edit this? What movies you would like to blue skidoo into for their location?
Blue skidoo, we can too, and then you flip upside down. Yes, maybe it should be called that. Dang it, missed opportunity. Anyway, that's our Schoolyard pick. I want to know what you guys think. Maybe we can post this on social, to get the conversation going, because I'm sure we missed some. We undoubtedly missed some. This was a tough one to pick for, so I would like to hear it. I mean, don't say Blade Runner. That's just scary. It falls into the Gotham City category. I thought about that one too, and then I was like, that's a hard pass. But yeah, let us know what you're thinking. I'm sure there are some fun ones out there. And that's going to be it for our show. If you guys have been watching WandaVision, check out our new YouTube series called Spilled Popcorn. You can catch it on YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel there. We are doing episode deep dives into that show. We are caught up with the show, and there's a new episode of WandaVision dropping on Friday, which means a new episode of Spilled Popcorn will drop next Monday with all of our thoughts on it. We are having tons of fun with that series. We're going to continue to do it for more shows after this, so definitely be sure to check that out. You can find it on our social, or just go to YouTube, type in Popcorn for Breakfast, and subscribe to our channel. We get into a lot there. Hey, I saw an interview on that topic. Paul Bettany was on a movie podcast called Lights Camera Pod that Barstool has, and he was saying that there is one thing in this show that has been kept completely under wraps. Nobody has leaked it. It's not out there on Reddit or anything. It's the appearance of a surprise character. He referred to him as a he. He said it's somebody he's wanted to act with for a really long time, and he thinks it's going to blow people's minds when he shows up. He also said that he thinks that this show, when it ends, will have people's minds blown, and it will make people rethink the way they see the MCU. That is what he said.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Who did I say? Our predictions were that Doctor Strange makes
Doctor Strange, sense. I think that would be a good one. I still think that prediction is intact with him saying that, because he called him a he. I looked it up. I don't know that Paul Bettany and Benedict Cumberbatch were ever on screen together.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that could work. Maybe in Infinity War they were, but I don't think they were.
I mean, if they're in the same scene, they were definitely not in the same.
Well, because in Infinity War,
scene.
he goes to space. Benedict Cumberbatch goes to space with Tony Stark before Vision ever gets pulled into it.
Right. Even if they're, obviously they're in the same battle, but he's not there. He's not there. What if it's Christian Bale?
What? Gore the God Killer?
That's right.
They're just going to roll him in there? Man, that would be wild.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, man. All bets are off, but I'm officially hyped after that tease that he gave.
We'll speculate more on Spilled Popcorn.
Oh, of course.
I couldn't contain myself.
Yes, we will speculate like crazy. So if you're watching, first of all, if you're not watching WandaVision, shame on you. Go to Disney Plus, watch it. Okay, it's fun. It's really off to a great start. Then watch Spilled Popcorn so you can get all the deets, all of our deep dives, all of our notes, and we'll continue to follow that series along. Other than that, we'll be back with another episode next week. We don't know what we're reviewing yet. We'll keep you guys posted on social. Till that time, be sure to keep an eye on our social. We want to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs. We want to give a special thanks to our band Rhetoric, who created our original music that you hear every single time, and that's fading up right now. It's been a lot of fun. We will talk to you guys next week.
See ya.